Hello guys, and welcome to this video where I'll show you a Hotlap around Japan, then the setup I use, and finally the race strategy. So let's jump right into the Hotlap. Get the DRS on for the straight, and then coming down to turn 1 you want to go full throttle into the corner and only brake as you get into the curb. And then just cruise into turn 2 in 4th gear and then try to get as early as possible on the throttle. For turn 3 you don't want to brake, but just lift the throttle a bit, but for turn 4 you want to brake as you start turning in, going down to 5th gear. Try to stay a bit more to the right, so you get a clean left-hander for turn 5, where you shift down to 5th and then lift the throttle. Then easy on the throttle up to turn 6, where you just tap the brake and then stay around the 80% throttle in 5th gear. Then full or almost full throttle around turn 7, and then that's gonna be sector 1. For turn 8 you want to brake just after the 50 meter board, going down to 6th gear, and then up to turn 9, where you want to brake just before the curb ends. Going down to 4th gear, and then watch out you don't go wide, as that might spin you out. Then coming up to turn 11 you want to brake just as you get the car straight after turn 10, going down to 3rd and really push the throttle on the exit to get that speed. And then just full throttle all the way up to turn 13, where you want to brake when you start turning in, just after the 50 meter board, going down to 5th gear, and then before the curbs ends you brake for turn 14. Going down to 4th gear and try to get that exit speed for higher top speed on the straight. So full throttle all the way down to turn 15, where you want to trust the setup and go flat out through the corner. And then coming down to the chicane, where you brake around 120 meters out, going down to 2nd, short shift to 3rd, and then up to 4th, going over the curbs. You can cut them even more than I did, and then just full throttle around the last corner. Get the DRS on. And then that was a lap around Japan in the time 1:29.055, but we should be able to get a 1:28 something with a bit more practice. But let's move on to my setup. For the aerodynamics we use 24 on the front and 18 on the rear. For transmission I use 56 and 50. Then for geometry it's all the way to the right for camber and all the way to the left for tow. Then suspension is 2-3, 4-1 for entry roll bar, and then 5-6 for ride height. Brakes are 150, and then the front tires are 23.5 and the rears are 23.0. So that was the setup, and then let's jump right into the race strategy. So the strategy for this race is gonna be medium hard, and you can put around 26.4 laps of fuel as you'll gain during the race. The setup is a bit different: lower the wings with a click or 2, and then change the tire pressure to 22.8 on the front and 21.0 on the rear, and then you're good to go. And then get some heat in the tires and hit the purple. We started P8, so we knew that we could get it done and get that victory yet another time. We had a decent launch where we stayed in position, but then in turn 1 and 2 we got 2 positions by going on the outside, and then we got another position going into turn 3, which meant we was already up to P5, so a great start. And then after 3 laps I wanted to show you a lap around Japan with high fuel, where you also can see the tire temperatures. So for turn 1 you want to brake almost as in the Hotlap. I broke way too early, so don't let the racing line scare you. And then for the next combination of corners in sector 1 you want to do the same as in the Hotlap, but with lower throttle when you're not braking, and braking a bit before when you should brake. So take a look at my lap. But for turn 8 and 9 it is exactly the same as in the Hotlap. Then coming up to turn 11 you want to brake just after the curb ends, going down to 2nd gear and short shift to 3rd. Then just full throttle all the way up to turn 11, where I broke a bit more than usual because I didn't want it to hit Pedis. But otherwise the same as in the Hotlap. As you can see we have much lower downforce than the AIs, so we are just so much faster than Paris on the straight. But still enough downforce to take turn 15 flat out. And then just do the same as in the Hotlap through the chicane. And then if you're under 1 second behind the one in front, then remember the DRS. Our lap time was a 1:33.495, but on a normal lap on the mediums you want to have a 1:34.5-ish. Our tire wear was around 24%, so around 5% each lap. Our tire temperatures gets a bit hot some places, but nothing too serious. Then at the end of lap 12 you have around 63% tire wear, so go into the pits. Coming into the pit lane, brake around 75 meters so you don't exceed the pit limits. Make sure to turn in when it shows 0.5 to hit the purple, getting the hards on, and then remember coming out of the pits the tires are gonna be cold. So brake before usual until they're up to temperature. After 6 lap we had around 23% tire wear, so we have around 5 to 6% each lap. On the hard tires you wanna have lap time around 1:33.2 ish. Then at the end of last lap we had a solid lead with 2.5 seconds down to Hamilton, so a great victory. Our fuel load was plus 1.26 laps, so that was way too much. Therefore use what I said at the beginning of the race. Our tires were around 55%, so you can choose to pit a lap before if you want, otherwise it'd still be good. And then that was it from me. If you want more of this, please like and subscribe, and then I'll see you in the next one.